Morning and welcome to the Mid-Maine Chamber of Commerce Business Breakfast Series. My name is Kimberly Nadeau-Linloff. I'm the President and CEO of the Mid-Maine Chamber, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here today. Before we begin our program this morning, I want to take a moment to thank our 2023 Business Breakfast Series sponsors. They include AT&T, Cross Insurance, New Dimensions Federal Credit Union, and thank you for the goodie bags, New Dimensions, Nicholson, Michaud, and Nadeau, CPAs, O'Donnell Lee, PA, and Sheridan Construction. Morning Sentinel is our print media sponsor. Our radio sponsor is the Mix 107.9, and who did I miss? The video sponsor is Kennebec Savings Bank. I want to thank our additional sponsor for this month, Allen Insurance and Financial. A reminder to please turn off your cell phones in consideration of our guests and speaker. Please don't forget to complete the evaluation forms on your table as well. We provide them to our speakers, and our committee reviews those for ideas for next year's, well, at this point we've already determined that, but the year after's programming. We have schedules here for next year, right, Sin? So if you want next year's schedule, if you haven't seen it, it was in our In Touch newsletter, but if you haven't received it, we have the 2024 schedules available at the registration table. We hope that you are able to visit with our Business Breakfast Spotlighter today, Discover Osteopractic Physical Therapy. And I'd like you to welcome our newest chamber members. They include T&K Landscaping, LLC, Skybox, LLC, Waterville Dental Arts, Affiliated Realty, and Swoosh Indoor Golf. The Chamber would like to invite you to our upcoming events. Our next business breakfast is here in this room on Thursday, January 11th. Our speaker will be Nancy Smith, who's the CEO of GrowSmart Maine. She's going to address the housing challenges as they pertain to statewide policies in place for our communities. Again, it's from 7:15 to 9, and if you want to attend, you can register with Cindy at cindy@midmainechamber.com, or reach out the website, the office. Our next business after hours will be at the Alphon Youth and Community Center. It's celebrating an anniversary. That's at 126 North Street in Waterville, and that's on January 17th from 5:30 to 7. Today's presenter is Gabe Govin of Central Maine Growth Council and Charlie Springer of TRC. They're going to discuss resources available through the Growth Council, the Brownfield program, and other grant programs. When you're asking questions, we ask you to please wait until we can get a microphone to you so that your questions will be captured on our video. We're also live streaming this, so censor yourself when you speak. Michelle Jolalabi, our VP of HR and Diversity for Thomas College and our board chair for this year and next, is going to introduce today's speaker. Michelle?
Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce Gabe and Charlie today. And welcome to today's business breakfast presentation with the Central Maine Growth Council and TRC companies. This presentation will detail several public support programs for local businesses, developers, and early-stage entrepreneurs, with a featured highlight of the City of Waterville's Brownfields Grant Program and Central Maine Growth Council's Economic Recovery Implementation Hub, funded through a program of Maine's Department of Economic and Community Development. This session will specifically educate on how to leverage these local programs and funding opportunities to deploy direct grant dollars to your business or project, reduce needed investment in redevelopment projects, and how Central Maine Growth Council provides resources, funding, and mentorship to entrepreneurs. Gabe Govin is the Economic Development Specialist with the Central Maine Growth Council and will share some of the aspects of his role with the organization in working with local businesses. Charlie Springer is the Northern New England area practice leader for TRC's Engineering, Construction, and Remediation Group. In his role, he is responsible for managing the regional operation, strategic direction, business development, client satisfaction, and ensuring high-quality technical work. Charlie is a licensed professional geologist and a certified hazardous materials manager with 24 years of experience and has been with TRC since 2005. Charlie supports environmental and engineering projects for a broad range of clients, including real estate developers, municipalities, corporations, manufacturers, utilities, renewable energy development, and solid waste facilities, state agencies, and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Today, he is here to talk to us about Waterville's Brownfields Redevelopment Program. Please join me in welcoming Gabe and Charlie.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to Mid-Maine Chamber. Thank you, everybody, for coming here this morning and joining us. I want to give a little bit, let me just make sure I got my clicker down. Awesome. All right, so a little bit of overview of our journey this morning. Going to give a little background on the Central Maine Growth Council, on our vision for economic development in the community, as well as some of the programs we use to enact that vision, and then flipping to some more specific development strategies to the city of Waterville. And I'll be welcoming up my buddy Charlie to come talk about the Brownfields program and bring us home. Central Maine Growth Council is a public-private economic development partnership with a focus on evolving and growing our regional economy. Our team, a handful of whom are here with us this morning, so if you have questions afterwards, feel free to corner them. They chose to show up, so that entitles you to ask them questions. We have a great team with leadership from Kim and Garvin, and fairly lean crew of people for the amount of work that we do. And consider myself very lucky to have such an impassioned and capable group of folks that I get to work with every day. The Growth Council's mission as a public-private partnership is to create. I have some nice notes here, so let me make sure I'm hitting all of my points. Identify as a regional agency built on partnership to foster collaboration and bring together the business community, our educational institutions, philanthropies, and our community and cultural organizations, as well as residents and the public body at large, to work together on a shared vision to elevate our regional economy. And apologies here. We want to achieve this fairly lofty goal by a combination of our regularly scheduled programming that's listed out here and our services that we regularly provide with those aforementioned partners, and as well as our growing and farming these success stories through our Innovation Hub and Business Accelerator, which is Dirigo Labs, which we'll touch on in a little bit. One of the items that we get asked every day that's top of mind for us mostly, and that I'm going to now ask you all this morning, is how do you define economic development? Realize, don't probably have time to bring the mic around, but somebody shout something out. What does economic development mean to you? Growth? Growth? Anyone else? Encouraging businesses, maybe new businesses. Anybody over here? All right, maybe jobs, maybe new housing. The answer that we like to say is it's everything to everyone, or it can be anything, which makes it a fairly nebulous topic. Housing, jobs, new businesses, infrastructure can all be items that relate or spur economic development. But then how do we plan for that? How do we strategize and rally around and grow everything and anything when it's so nebulous? Well, we need to start with our foundations, take a step back and understand what are those key components and concepts that create the conditions where businesses and growth can occur. What's that foundation of a pyramid? We have a pyramid. Run through this really quickly, but the core foundation that we want to identify is that sense of collaboration, bringing those people together, those robust community partners on that shared vision. So, because without that, you're not able to achieve. So we certainly have that in this community, and once you have that in place, you can take that next step to growing an entrepreneurial ecosystem, supporting entrepreneurs, putting the conditions in place where they can succeed, where they can fail and recover and learn and grow, having the entrepreneurship recognized and respected in the community as a career path, as a job function. And then moving up our rung here, retaining and expanding our local businesses. We want to keep the Main Street businesses on Main Street and work with our legacy businesses to see how they can grow and expand or evolve to meet, the modern economy that we're trying to grow here. And then we're going to look at our inventory of infrastructure. We're going to find where our gaps are. Is there a new business or an existing one that has a workforce development issue? We need to upskill some folks and create a development program. Is there infrastructure that we can seek funding for and improve? What are those gaps? How can we fill them? And then once we've had that foundation of community support and collaboration, had our entrepreneurial ecosystem, have those existing businesses supported and retained, and filled out all the gaps that we have, then we're ready to go out and recruit and bring in new business. And so that's our kind of logic math path forward. Our pyramid, it could also probably be articulated as a feedback loop. That gets a little monotonous looking and bleak, and I think the pyramid touches the inner capitalist in us all, so we'll stick with that for now. But we have that logic map forward, but how do we enact it? How do we know if we're succeeding? We've picked 5 kind of development points here. This could probably be 25 or 2, but we're going to stick with 5. Running through our outcomes here and how we're going to measure our success, we want to focus on workforce, targeted in a technology and innovation heavy environment. We're going to prioritize nesting these businesses and jobs in our vacant and existing spaces and infill our infrastructure before we look to expand outward or upward. And we're going to do this while thinking regionally and leverage our growth and strength as a conglomeration of communities that can then more impactfully draw in labor from abroad, from the state at large. And we're going to market that by relying on the quality of life that we have inherent to this area in Maine. So that's kind of our logic path forward, and then our method of how we're going to measure our success. But how do we operationalize this day to day, week to week? How do we get these programs out there? How do we actually make this work? One of the key ways that we do this is through Deergo Labs, which is our innovation hub and business accelerator. I'm not going to read all of this piece by piece, but Deergo Labs is the premier regional business accelerator and incubator in central Maine. The format targets early stage founder pairs that are either at or just beyond the revenue stage, that are businesses in one of Maine's 7 technology sectors. This with a lens of innovation to either their product or their business model, and we connect them with we bring them through a curriculum focused on IP, on building a team, financial literacy, economic incentives, and connect them with the resources they need to succeed in these early nascent stages as entrepreneurs. Shameless plug, we are currently recruiting for our cohort number 3. Deergo Labs has had 2 successful cohorts thus far, with 24 total companies, all of which are still in operation in some way, shape, or form, which is a stat that probably deserves a little more sunlight on it. That's unheard of in this field. Great success thus far, and I'm sure that'll continue going. We're recruiting now for the next cohort. We've added an entire month of financial education to the program, because it's a shared need we've found as we've gone through working with these entrepreneurs. So if there's anybody you know that either is interested as a mentor or somebody that has a business that they're looking to grow and scale that has some innovation to it, please send them our way. Or if it's just somebody who's interested in this field and wants to learn more and participate, would welcome them at all of our events. Our program runs for 16 weeks. It culminates in a pitch competition where for the last 2 years, the winning pitch receives a $25,000 grant prize, non-dilutive. It's direct cash to their business. Very, very impactful. I'm going to talk about some of the differentiators for Girgo Labs. Every business that comes through creates a unique project plan and has mentor assignments that they work on to basically, similar homework assignments, working with their mentors, following up and following a specific plan. So they're forced to identify where they can grow, how they can improve. There's potentially pivot points in between and have that success at the end. We offer this as a hybrid model. So folks that may have transportation barriers to access this kind of program but have a fantastic business that they're running out of their home are able to participate. We offer access to workspace, something I haven't touched on that the Growth Council and Girgo Labs does is co-own and operate a co-working and innovation space called Bricks Co-working out of the Hathaway Creative Center in downtown Waterville. Participants in the program are able to come in, work together, collaborate. It wouldn't be uncommon on an in-person day, a Thursday, to see multiple entrepreneurs sitting along a banquet table, working independently, and then bouncing ideas off each other, sharing contacts, networking, and helping each other grow and succeed. Folks have access to these conference rooms and spaces to have investor meetings, hold interviews, have confidential conversations that show better than maybe a coffee shop or their living room for these early stage businesses. We also feature an entire week devoted to economic development programs and incentives, something that is unique to this accelerator and provides an additional layer of support and resources for our entrepreneurs. And our mentor network, we have over 100 mentors nationwide covering every imaginable sector and are able to provide expertise and support for those businesses. Jumping around a little here to our next program that we use to succeed, one of those, we're talking about programs here that allow us to follow that pyramid and those metrics that we want to be looking for to measure our success. Our program here that we are going to feature is our Economic Recovery Implementation Hub. We're operating this program in partnership with the State of Maine Department of Economic and Community Development. This is a 2-year contract we have to perform economic development training, or economic development technical assistance and entrepreneurial training, as well as providing non-dilutive grants throughout Kennebec and Somerset County. This is a regional program. We are one of a number of hubs throughout the state of Maine, and we're able to work together with them on some more regional initiatives. There's 4 key task areas to this program. Technical assistance with a lens of DEI and diversity, new business grants, and entrepreneurial training. I'm going to break this down a little bit more. This program is funded through U.S. Treasury and COVID recovery dollars and has an intentionality behind it to target smaller, early stage businesses that were devastated by the effects of the pandemic and were not able to move forward or grow as they had planned, or potentially somebody who had a business idea, had done some pre-planning, was going to move forward, had started raising capital, and then things fell through because of lockdown. So this is targeted to support those businesses, and there is a specific carve-out for minority-owned, women-owned businesses that studies have shown did not receive as much funding from PPP or EIDL or those earlier rounds of recovery funding. So we're specifically tiering some of our assistance towards that group. Entrepreneurial training folds in very well with our Dirigo Labs program. Is a key element here when we're meeting with folks, especially as most of these being early stage businesses. Entrepreneurs are going to have resources that they need, and we can help provide them with pulling on those educational materials and those lessons from Dirigo Labs. And then everybody's favorite, grants, free money. We have, through this program, over $700,000 in direct funds. Again, non-dilutive, cash, not equity investments, just funding for your business to recover, to grow, to expand. There's a fair amount of flexibility in how this can be used. We have seen this be used for rent, for equipment, for hiring of new employees, for training of staff. So really great flexible source of funding here that really can help nest businesses in the community. So when we're talking about how we want, where we are in our stages here, we're looking at how we can support our entrepreneurs that are in the community, and then how we're also able to attract and draw, and when we're recruiting those businesses, have some nice programs to help them nest in our downtowns, fill in those vacancies, infilling our existing infrastructure. Then next couple slides are a little text heavy, cognizant of the fact this is recorded and we can deploy this deck out after the fact. Did want to include them, so we'll not be going too in depth on all of these, but I'm going to talk about some of the incentives that we layer in and other programs that maybe we don't directly administer but are able to help leverage for businesses in the community. Our partnerships that we use here, partnerships with the state of Maine allow us to have programs like the ERAH funding, and also partnerships with organizations like Maine Technology Institute, quasi-governmental agencies, allow us to connect our entrepreneurs with additional funding, grant funds to help them grow, or investment dollars, equity investments into their businesses. But those state of Maine partnerships are vital for those kinds of larger funding pools and incentives for early businesses. We love partnering with our regional councils of government and planning organizations. They have some of their own funding sources and loan packages that they can layer in to support businesses. Obviously, we have a robust set of academic institutions here in this community. We work very closely with them. Haby at Thomas College, Harold Alfon Institution for Business Innovation, I think I got that acronym right, as well as the new Halloran Labs at Colby College, align very well with the mission and visions of both the Growth Council and Dirigo Labs. Our civic and institutional partnerships, these are, when we think about this, we're talking about, hopefully some of the folks here were able to participate in the downtown revisioning phase 2 for Waterville in the last year. Fantastic public planning process, bringing in the community, getting their input, and really getting a sense of what is important to them, what's important to the people that are going to be living here, what kind of businesses, what kind of growth do they want to see, and how does that inform us as developers and the city at large on prioritization and a path forward. And then partnerships, we love public-private partnerships. This category here was more generalized, but just focusing on how we can bring together, a local school, a nonprofit, and maybe a state of Maine agency to create, a food waste diversion program or an after-school program. Those are the kind of community-building, place-making initiatives that are important and really lend to the fabric of the community and create a space where we can grow this economy. A little more on the hard incentives and economic development tools here. These are kind of our core strategies that we pull on, levers that we pull on. Run through these quickly, but the Central Maine Growth Council operates the only active foreign trade zone in the state of Maine. Foreign Trade Zone is a program out of the Department of Commerce, U.S. Department of Commerce, and works closely with Customs and Border Protection. case model for this would be a business that is a manufacturing business importing a lot of goods, can import goods, can manipulate, value add, manufacture, or destroy product and materials, and then export them without it ever touching U.S. customs. Also can then, after they've been manipulated, can import those products and defer that duty or tariff or pay a lesser amount. Also some administrative costs avoided with the stacking of fees, but at scale, a very powerful program. So when we're talking about recruitment of large manufacturers, of larger businesses, major job creators, this is one of the key programs that we would be using and featuring to implement a cost savings. Pine Tree Development Zone, the kind of stalwart economic development program for the state of Maine through Maine DCD. Incentive program that is a blanket or umbrella program or a stacked program that features a number of different benefits, primarily focused on tax relaxation. A couple are thrown up here, though not all of them. E-TIFs, or employment tax increment financing. New businesses coming in, going to be hiring a lot of people, can shelter and get reimbursement on that employee tax. Then jumping over to traditional TIF, very powerful, very popular tool utilized by the municipality. One of the few levers that a municipality can pull on to create economic development funding, as well as benefit for developers coming into the area. Sheltering, the quick explanation, sheltering the assessed value of an improved area. So you have major investment going into a vacant parcel, new construction's built, rather than the taxes on that parcel going up, sheltering it, freezing that value, and getting reimbursement on the taxes paid to then reinvest in the community, reinvest in infrastructure, and support those projects. Can also be layered in with an agreement with the developers to pass some of the benefit to them, share some of that investment, so that a new business or an entrepreneur or a developer that's looking to make, put in a commercial structure, put in housing, can utilize a TIF in their capital stack to go to a debt servicer, go to a traditional bank and say, I have a TIF that makes that has up to 10, 20, 30 years of benefit for me, making this project more tenable to a debt servicer, so that we can have those projects move forward. And then some honorable mentions over here. Keep an eye out for more information on Deergo Incentive Program. We'll be kind of stepping into the role of Pine Tree Development Zone in the next couple years as Pine Tree sunsets, as well as seed capital tax credit, business equipment tax exemption. These programs here focused on tax relaxation. We implement these and assist businesses in the administrative and identifying where in their timeline for their growth that it makes sense to go after these programs, because there's sometimes eligibility considerations when it comes to timing on when you want to flow these in. So something that we're always scanning for and making sure when we're having those meetings with businesses that we're targeting and identifying when to layer these in. Flipping now to some Waterville-specific strategies, only available here in Waterville currently. Our downtown facade and building improvement grant program is a program administered by the Central Maine Growth Council, privately funded facade program. This is a very powerful tool. We use this to spur additional investment into our downtown, into our community, available to both businesses, business owners, and building owners. This program can be for general beautification, it can be for deferred maintenance, as well as new lighting, signage, outdoor seating for outdoor dining. Applications we do an application round once every year, maybe every 2 years, and these are one-to-one matching grants, so up to $10K. So for a new business coming into Main Street that needs a new sign or wants to update the facade to represent their business coming in, this is a program that we can layer in and say we can match you up to $10,000 of grant funding to make this happen and improve your business. So another one of those programs that we use to help nest businesses in the community. And down here, some local successes. So, don't have a photo included yet, but for those of you that are familiar with the downtown, one of our recent awardees from our last round was the Lion's Den facade. So that major investment in reconstruction of their facade was in part funded through this program. And now I will hand it over to Charlie from TRC.
Making sure I get my tech right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming, and appreciate everyone getting up early. Hopefully, everyone is. I realize I'm the only thing between you and getting on with your day, so we'll try to move this forward and get through it. So, Waterville received a Brownfields grant from the U.S. EPA, and what I'm here to talk to you about is a little bit of detail about it. What is the Brownfields program, and how this is a tool for entities in the city of Waterville to really take advantage of, and as all the good things that Gabe was just talking about that Central Maine Growth Council has to offer for economic development, this is one of those tools in the toolbox. So hopefully this will be informative, and obviously if we have questions at the end, I'd love to answer any of those. So I thought I'd start with what the heck is a brownfield? Some people don't know. A lot of people don't know. So the top line is directly off of EPA's website. This is the actual definition, but what it really means is it's the either real or potential stigma of environmental impacts to a building or a site. So you're a developer, you walk in, you're like, I have this great idea, or you're a business that needs a space to be able to actually work out of and get your business going, but oh man, that used to be an auto repair facility, or that used to be an old mill, and it's going to have asbestos, and it's going to have all the petroleum in the ground, and I don't know that I want to go get involved with all that. I'm a small business. I can't afford to deal with that. This program can help assess, quantify, is there a problem? If there is, how much is it actually going to cost? Or maybe, again, potential presence. Is there a problem at all? Is it just an assumption that there's a problem and that there really isn't? So that's what this program is all about. It is not intended for your big, incredibly nasty sites. It's not super fun sites. We've all heard that word in the media, and it also, other sites that are caught up in federal and state programs. It's not trying to get someone who's responsible for the issues out of being responsible for them. It's for that entity that has no responsibility for what may have happened, but now wants to redevelop that site and bring it back into productive use. There's always also site-specific determinations can be done if you're in that gray zone. EPA allows that as a possibility. So what are the goals of the program? Community benefit, again, very much aligning with what Gabe was talking about with Central Maine Growth Council. Provide direct funding to communities to support economic development and growth. Make sustainable, environmentally friendly places to live. That's a good thing. We all want that. And then, again, add on to those public-private partnerships to get things done. The environmental benefit, I think it goes without saying, if we're helping to assess and clean up environmental impacts, that's a good thing. We all appreciate having a clean environment here in Maine. But at the end of the day, all those wonderful things, it's about economic development. It's about moving that needle forward, removing that stigma of environmental issues, and being able to get these projects done, get new businesses to start to grow, and put vacant, derelict buildings back into service on the tax roll and being productive parts of the community. So there are a couple of different types of funding. There is an assessment grant, which can do all types of assessment. I'll get into that in a few minutes, but that's what Waterville has. It's $500,000. So there's real money out there to help entities in the city of Waterville. There's also, through Kennebec Valley Council of Governments, there's a revolving loan fund to do cleanup projects. So once you know what your problem might be and you have a cost, you potentially could apply to KVCOG to get either subgrants or loans to complete that work. And I will say that typically those loans are well below market, which are extremely attractive now given the current state of, of borrowing money. There are also other types of grants that are available. There are site-specific cleanup grants and multi-purpose grants and job training grants. These are, while all very possible, a little less common. The two that most developers and business owners come in contact with were the former, the assessment grants and the RLF. So since you've all been paying attention, pop quiz. Which of these could be brownfield sites? All right, so apparently someone saw my slide deck beforehand. That's the answer. They all could be. And this is kind of the intent of this slide. A lot of these pictures you probably recognize. Most of these photos are from Waterville. And any one of these could be a brownfield site. Some of them actually are. Because, again, many of you deal with, real estate side of things. Banks want environmental due diligence to be conducted prior to an acquisition of a site. The Brownfields program through Waterville can support that. Is there, someone's trying to start a new business in any one of these places? Is there, you're going in and you want to buy the building, you want to renovate it so that you can do your intended use for that structure. Well, the state of Maine requires that a hazardous building material survey be conducted prior to any renovation. The Brownfields program can pay for that. So there's very real reasons why this is a wonderful tool for economic redevelopment. So far, again, I said $500,000 is what Waterville received. They've assessed two sites. There's the pad site, the development site on Trafton Road, and the Grondings Cleaner site. So they're just at the start of their grant. I don't give away their money. I just help do the work. Obviously talk to the city, talk to Gabe and Central Maine Growth Council about applying for these funds. But my point of this is there's a lot of money left in this grant, and they'd love to get it out so they can apply again and get more money. That's the intent of the program, is to move through the funding and actually support the community. So what are those eligible activities? I talked about a few of them, and I'll go through each of these here in the next few slides. There's an outreach component, and I'll be honest, that's part of why I'm here today. This is partly outreach to educate the community, to educate the business leaders that this funding exists and that it truly can be transformative on certain projects. So again, if that need is there, to come out and meet one-on-one with an owner, to educate them on what this means, what the risks are, what information it could provide, all of that's possible. We're happy to do that. Site identification and selection. We can go through, again, with the city, we can select, go through an inventory process across the entire site, across the entire city. We can also focus in on neighborhoods or areas. If there's a certain developer that's interested in doing a project in, say, Waterville in this case, we could assist with, hey, here are the types of sites that might work for your project within the city limits. And then, go through the site selection and eligibility determination with the federal government. So again, it is federal dollars, so there are certain eligibility requirements. But generally speaking, EPA is very pro-development. This is a very unique program in EPA. It is not enforcement. They're not coming to try to fine you or anything like that. They are truly wanting to give the money out to stimulate development. They love the fact that at the back end, if a developer, say the assessment grant provides $50,000 of assessment, maybe the developer goes into KVCOG for a $400,000 or $500,000 cleanup loan through the RLF. Okay, so your total investment is $450,000 through the Brownfields program, but now that developer brings 8, 9, 10, 12, 20 million dollars of development into that area, into that community. That's what justifies this program to Congress, and EPA loves that. It's one of the reasons the EPA Brownfields program has been supported by both parties. It's either jobs, it's cleaning up the environment, everybody loves it, and it's been funded fully since 1996 through all administrations. Again, the actual work, the assessments. We talked about phase ones. Many of you have probably, I'm guessing, have seen these before. A lot of banks require it. It's the first step. It's that desktop review. Is there a problem? Is there not? From an environmental standpoint. And then we can actually go through and do testing. Soil, groundwater, soil gas, asbestos, lead, caulking, all the things that can creep up on you in a development project. Where you're like, oh, I didn't know that we had a dry well here and all the oil used to go down that hole. These things are, there are things that we can assess ahead of time to give that knowledge before you get involved. And again, maybe there still is a problem, but if you can quantify that problem, then it's a much more realistic and achievable goal to get through the development. There's planning that is eligible here. So once you get through that assessment component, the next thing you're going to ask is, well, how much does it cost? Right? That's what everybody wants to know, is what's it going to cost to do this? Well, engineered estimates for cleanup and remediation costs are all fundable through this grant. Again, these are just some of the specific outcomes or specific deliverables that we can provide. There's also more traditional planning, and obviously there are great resources in this region, Central Maine, KVCOG, and the municipalities themselves to do planning, but there's also a planning component here through the Brownfields program that if you need a specific study, a market study for a type of development. We're currently working with another regional agency a little bit further north in the state on a hotel study. There's a developer that's interested in bringing a hotel to a certain region. And they are looking at some brownfield sites. There's some impacted sites for the potential redevelopment of this hotel. And the Brownfields program is funding the market study, which shows, like we just got the report, I think a week ago, completely justifiable to bring a flagged hotel into this region to support it. And until then, everyone's like, well, we think it's a good idea, but where's the data? Show me that this is actually going to work. And now we have that documentation to move this project forward. So a couple of project highlights that are right here in Waterville, the Head of Falls Village redevelopment. I'm sure you guys know where this is. This is one that has been funded through assessment by KVCOG. It's also been funded by the state of Maine and also privately funded. And that's typically how these projects happen, is it's multiple funding sources coming together. But, through Central Maine, through Waterville, we can help you stitch together that funding to make all this work. And again, this assessment is not loans. This assessment is, in essence, a grant to you. You never see a bill. You just get the documentation that you need. Another success, now this is a long-running project. I'm sure everyone knows it started with Hathaway and is now finally moving forward with the other two structures. But this is a site that has benefited from Brownfields program. Actually, all three buildings have. This is focused on the two that are currently up for redevelopment. But hazardous building materials surveys were completed through KVCOG. Maine DEP, using Maine DEP Brownfields funding, actually removed the underground storage tank and did the closure assessments for that. So all of that was completed using Brownfields funding. So forgive me again, same reason that Gabe said some of this is a bit text heavy, but I know the slides are being distributed afterwards. So what are those benefits? You get your environmental due diligence paid for. You better understand the environmental risks. There's that reduce or avoid environmental liability for the current or future owners. I mentioned this, to minimize the surprises of redevelopment. Nobody likes that, oh my God, I didn't realize that there's asbestos behind that wall. And now it's going to be X tens of thousands of dollars more in the middle of your development process. Marketability value of properties, make that risk-based cleanup approach, that remedial cost estimate. If you're putting in a commercial structure and a commercial business, you don't need to clean it up to put a daycare there. You know, those are different standards in the state of Maine, and we can help work through that with the owner, with the developer, to make sure that we're cleaning up to be protective of human health and the environment, but not necessarily going to the extreme if you don't have to. And then again, dovetailing cleanup with development activities. Sometimes in Maine it makes sense to actually leave the contamination, some levels of contamination in the ground and put a cap above it. Well, that cap can be your driveway and your walkways and your landscaped areas, and all this is approved by Maine DEP. Therefore, all that hardscaping work could be fundable through a cleanup grant or through the revolving loan fund from KV-COG. So all of a sudden, all your asphalt and pavement and all of that of a traditional development project is now being paid for at 1-2% interest on a loan from KV-COG. So again, working through this program, and it could be very advantageous for development and renovation projects. And then the value to the community on the environmental side, you know, we're assessing, understanding, cleaning up the environment. Protective human health and the environment is very important to this program. The economic side, you know, it's what Gabe said: housing, jobs, you know, cleaning, removing blight, infilling, using existing infrastructure. You know, all of that is at the heart of this program. And then the social side, environmental justice, collaboration, having people take pride in their neighborhood as things come back, you know, all very important to brownfields. Thank you.
Does anyone have questions for Gabe or Charlie? Come on, you guys. Yes, you do. Paula.
There you go. I'm wondering if nonprofits can come to KV-COG and apply for some of these opportunities.
Yes. So the eligible entities for the revolving loan fund from KV-COG are both nonprofit and for-profit entities. Nonprofits and municipalities are also eligible for subgrants if the money's available. Again, I don't give away the money. That's KV-COG's choice. For-profit entities are only eligible for loans. That's the federal requirement, and that's not a negotiable thing. But yes, nonprofits are absolutely eligible, and they're the types of entities that could benefit the most.
Thank you, Joel and Gabe. Really nice job. First off, just want to say again, thanks to TRC and the city for the forward-thinking direction on this program, and ultimately want to solicit the business community to understand that you're really seeing significant free technical assistance opportunities. And what didn't come out in that great presentation was really a wonderful access to free technical assistance on civil and environmental engineering, pre-scoping work that really anybody in this community can very quickly access. So think about that as you're going on your development journey. You immediately have an internal-external team of civil and environmental specialists, engineers, planning, economic development, in alignment with funding and economic development programs. You are out of the gate more quickly than most projects at $0. So we really encourage folks to look at this. So with that said, can you touch on, Gabe, maybe a vision for the downtown, a project that might use different sources of funding relative to public finance, and maybe how these things could stack nicely for a nonprofit or a private sector business relative to different programs?
Yeah, absolutely. Am I hot over here? Yeah. Okay, great. So looking at the downtown, we have a lot of historic buildings, old brick buildings in our community that I guarantee all of them could utilize some element of brownfields funding, whether it's because there's asbestos or lead paint or PCBs in the building materials. So utilize, a developer comes to the community, wants to purchase a building in the downtown that's been vacant for a number of years. They come to the city communicating their intent. They utilize the brownfields program to assess any sort of environmental conditions that are on site. They are all in doing that. They're also breaking the existing chain of liability, so they are no longer, as new ownership, would not be found liable for any environmental concerns, which then empowers them to go after cleanup funding for that site, and they can then eradicate any of those issues and get it fully abated and ready to build out the space. And some of that build out can also occur, as Charlie said, with brownfields dollars. So early stage can really start to use those funding. We would also look to, depending on the nature of the business or the use of the site, it could be if it's a mixed use development with maybe some housing upstairs and a commercial space or a business on the ground floor, we would work with the building owner to either attract a tenant through one of our lead flow pipelines, through Dirigo Labs, through our Economic Recovery Implementation Hub, and connect them with resources and funding to help either attract and nest a new business into their new commercial space, or if they're going to be an owner-operator, provide them those resources to have their business there themselves. And also would probably want to utilize one of our state incentive programs, whether it's Pine Tree or a TIF, to shelter some of that investment value in the building and help make it a more viable project going forward and have a quicker return on their investment on that site. We would also look and see if, depending on the type of use, depending on the type of business, if there's any sort of workforce development lens available or needed. If it's a retail lens, or if it's potentially upstairs is office space. But we would work with our partners at the academic institutions, the tech center, to help create those development pipelines and fill those gaps. So that's kind of Pixar story, high level of how one site could utilize a large number of programs to help reduce barriers to development, reduce the need for investment up front, and have an earlier return, an earlier success, and break even rate.
So one thing just to add, and I think this would go for many of the things that Gabe was just talking about. The earlier that engagement with the entity that wants to do the project, the better. And from the brownfields program, prior to acquisition of the site, if possible, is very important. There are it's federal dollars for the brownfields program, so there are certain steps that need to be followed, or else you're not eligible. One of the do not pass go, do not collect $200 if you don't do it, is do a phase 1 environmental site assessment prior to signing on the dotted line in the real estate transfer. If you don't do that, you're not eligible for the revolving loan fund side of the program. So we can help engage early and have the conversations to make sure that you stay eligible for this and all the programs, because there's some very talented people in this region that can help navigate a lot of these programs, and there's funding out there to do all of this. But if you don't do certain things, you might disqualify yourself in the future.
Thank you, Gabe. Thank you, Charlie. Gabe, thank you for giving the overview of the ERIH program. If there's anyone interested in learning more about it, or learning how to get through the intake process, or about the grant guidelines, where should they go to learn that information?
That is a fantastic question. They should absolutely investigate that on our website, centralmaine.org, where we have an entire page dedicated to this program. There is an intake form that you can fill out, get all the basic information for your business or your organization in there. We'll have that then in our system, and we'll have a couple scoping meetings, figure out what makes the most sense, and move forward from there. But that's the fastest, cleanest way to get in contact, or just walk up to me, or if you see me in the downtown, tap me on the shoulder. But yeah, head to our website. There's all kinds of resources and documents detailing how the program works and how to access funding.
Thank you very much, both of you. Great presentation. Just want to first of all thank the Central Maine Growth Council and the incredible people that work for that and TRC. To have such intelligent, like Garvin said, forward-thinking individuals in this area, being a lifelong Waterville resident and seeing everything that's happening is wonderful. Appreciate all the work you do. I find the foreign trade zone very interesting. It must have involved a lot of collaboration. I'm kind of curious, where are you in that process? How far along before we actually start seeing something like that in Central Maine?
So foreign trade zone has been active for how long? 10 years?
For quite a few decades.
Multiple decades.
Most activity within the last 5 years. Thank you, Cindy. For the last 5 years, coming online with 3 foreign trade zone users. There's approximately 3 zones active in the state of Maine, predominantly within manufacturing and the blue economy relative to the lobstering industry in the state of Maine. The constraint with foreign trade zones across the country is it is predominantly a program targeted for mid and large scale companies. Maine, of course, has an amazing abundance of smaller companies. So really, as you think about those large manufacturers, this notion of a traded job and imports, exports, really the best thing you can do to scan for eligibility is, are they importing? Are they exporting? Are they doing some sort of value add manufacturing? Are they turning that peanut into peanut butter? And then are they shipping and distributing it around the world? Maine historically has had 5 foreign trade zones. That's down to approximately 2. There's a few reasons for that. Again, predominantly based on those constraints on the size of businesses in the state of Maine. With that said, just about every manufacturing facility in the United States of scale operates within a foreign trade zone. So this would be kind of a top-level program geared towards a larger employer, likely in manufacturing, with a large component of imports, exports. What do you think?
Good job.
Again, thank you both. So I want to remind you to take a moment to fill out the evaluation form on your desk or your table in front of you. You can either leave it there face down or drop it off at the registration table on your way out the door. If your business would like to be a spotlighter at one of our breakfasts, please let us know. And it's free to do it if you're a chamber member. You just have to give us a door prize. And speaking of door prizes, we have some fabulous door prizes this morning. Oh yeah. Well, Charlie, we have a gift for you. We'll bring it in a minute. Thank you for speaking today. We have one for Gabe too, but since we all live together, we can get it to him later. Our first drawing is for a $10 gift card and coffee mug donated by Aroma Joe's, and it's going to Sean Mishu of Seacoast Security. We have a lot of these, so if you don't want to clap, that's fine. The next one is a $10 Sella Tea Cafe gift card and an actual bag of tea, and that's going to Martha Wentworth of Allen Insurance and Financial. We're only going to pick our directors out of this. We have a rosemary mint bath bomb and hand and body soap donated by Valley Spring Essentials. Ooh, and that's going to Jeff Jolliker of Century 21 Surratt. Good for you. Yes, these bath bombs, I love them. These are the best ones. They're like turbo powered. You put them in the tub and they're like zzz, like a 8th grade science experiment. Next, we have a $25 chamber gift certificate donated by Allen Insurance and Financial, and that's going to Joanne Joliker. You've won twice. $25 valued stemless wine glass and opener kit donated by Maine State Credit Union is going to Northland GC. Rachel. New Dimensions Federal Credit Union has a swag bag that it donated, and that is going to Brian Cainrath from the new city manager, City of Waterville. We have another $25 chamber gift certificate donated by Allen Insurance and Financial, and you'll remember that chamber gift certificates make a wonderful Christmas gift, right? Jim Chapman, Kennebec Valley Community College. Discover Osteopactic Physical Therapy, who is our spotlighter today, has donated a $50 gift card towards one therapy session, and that's going to Kim Kennedy, Jim's partner in crime at KVCC. Oh, so we have a $100 valued 15-minute photo session, including 5 edited digital images and online print release donated by No Negatives Photography, and that's going to Paula Raymond of Mid-Maine Regional Adult and Community Education. Yay! So again, fill out your forms. Let us know if you want to be a spotlighter. Thank you very much for being here today. Happy New Year, happy holidays, safe travels.